It happened in less than 10 seconds. The billionaire's young daughter had already sent 5 elite caregivers into tears, overturned a polished conference table with astonishing strength, and stood trembling in the center of the sunlit executive lobby while dozens of employees backed away in fear. Doctors had called her impossible. Specialists had quietly given up. Security guards refused to get close. Even her own father stood frozen, watching his daughter drown inside emotions nobody could reach. Then, from the far end of the building, a quiet janitor pushed aside his cleaning cart, walked forward without a trace of fear, and did something so unexpected that the entire room fell into complete silence. Nobody knew that beneath the simple work uniform was a man who had once survived impossible missions as a decorated Navy SEAL, and what happened over the next few minutes would forever change every life inside that building. If you believe kindness can heal broken hearts, forgiveness can restore families, hope should never be abandoned, and everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to our channel. Every act of support helps our community continue sharing stories that remind our family that compassion is often stronger than power. The city skyline shimmered beneath a bright afternoon sun as employees hurried through the headquarters of Hawthorne Global Industries. The company was worth billions, led by one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the country, a determined entrepreneur named Graham Hawthorne. Newspapers celebrated his business genius, television networks praised his relentless ambition, and investors admired his fearless decisions. Yet none of those achievements followed him through the marble hallways that afternoon. They saw only a father carrying invisible exhaustion in every step. His 8-year-old daughter, Eliza, had become the center of whispers throughout the company. She wasn't cruel. She wasn't spoiled. She was simply trapped inside overwhelming emotional storms that no one seemed capable of understanding. After losing her mother to a sudden illness 3 years earlier, the cheerful little girl had slowly withdrawn from the world. She no longer trusted strangers. She panicked whenever someone tried to comfort her. Every new caregiver lasted only days before giving up. The experts used complicated words. Trauma. Severe anxiety. Emotional dysregulation. Behavioral resistance. Graham memorized every diagnosis, attended every therapy appointment, spent fortunes searching for answers, and blamed himself every single afternoon when another specialist quietly admitted they had run out of ideas. That morning had begun with hope. A nationally recognized behavioral consultant arrived confidently, promising breakthrough techniques. Less than an hour later, she walked away shaken, leaving another expensive report that explained everything except how to help Eliza. As employees nervously cleaned broken decorations from the lobby floor, Graham stared helplessly at his daughter. She wasn't angry anymore. She looked terrified. Tears streamed down her cheeks as if she desperately wanted someone to rescue her from emotions she couldn't control. Most people saw chaos. One man saw fear. At the far corner of the lobby stood the oldest janitor in the building, a broad-shouldered employee named Nolan Mercer. Few people noticed him because he preferred staying invisible. He arrived before sunrise every morning, worked quietly, smiled politely, and left every afternoon without seeking attention. The executives barely remembered his name. What nobody knew was that Nolan had once spent nearly 2 decades serving in one of the world's most demanding military units. Before becoming a janitor, he had led rescue operations where frightened children had been found hiding beneath collapsed buildings and terrified civilians had needed calm more than commands. Retirement had come after injuries ended his military career, and he intentionally chose a simple life where no one would salute him again. As he watched Eliza, memories returned not of combat, but of frightened children whose silence had once spoken louder than screams. Without asking permission, Nolan slowly placed his mop against the wall. Every security guard instinctively stepped toward him. Graham looked up. The janitor simply nodded with quiet confidence. There was no dramatic speech. No heroic announcement, only patience. Instead of walking directly toward Eliza, Nolan sat cross-legged several feet away on the polished floor, keeping his eyes lowered. From his pocket he removed a tiny wooden bird that had obviously been carved by hand over many years of careful practice. Rather than offering it to her, he gently rolled it across the floor before folding his hands and waiting. the little bird slowly stopped inches from Eliza's shoes. She looked at it, nobody breathed. Nearly a full minute passed beneath the afternoon sunlight pouring through the enormous glass windows. Then something unbelievable happened. Eliza slowly picked up the wooden bird. For the first time in months, she stopped shaking. Nolan still didn't move. Another long minute passed before she cautiously sat on the floor across from him. Employees exchanged confused glances. Doctors had tried advanced therapies, psychologists had designed elaborate treatment plans. The quiet janitor had simply offered safety without pressure. Over the following weeks, the headquarters changed in ways nobody expected. Graham quietly adjusted Nolan's schedule so he could spend part of each afternoon near Eliza whenever she visited the office. They rarely spoke much. Sometimes they simply built tiny wooden animals together. Other afternoons they watched birds through the windows or folded paper airplanes that drifted across empty meeting rooms during lunch breaks. The remarkable part wasn't that Eliza suddenly became a different child. The remarkable part was that she slowly became herself again. She laughed, she smiled, she started drawing colorful pictures, she even began greeting employees by name. For Graham, every tiny improvement felt larger than every business victory of his career. Curiosity eventually turned into investigation. How could a janitor accomplish what internationally respected experts couldn't? Human Resources reviewed Nolan's employment file and discovered almost nothing beyond basic references. Graham ordered a deeper background check, expecting perhaps previous counseling experience. Instead, he found a classified military record filled with commendations that had once been impossible for civilians to access: decorated Navy SEAL, multiple rescue citations, leadership awards, civilian evacuation specialist, psychological resilience instructor. Graham couldn't believe what he was reading. The man cleaning office floors had once commanded operations where lives depended on impossible calm under unimaginable pressure. When Graham confronted Nolan privately one bright afternoon, the older man smiled gently. He explained that uniforms often hide ordinary people, and ordinary clothes sometimes hide extraordinary stories. He hadn't wanted admiration. After years of conflict, he wanted quiet work, honest labor, and peace. Cleaning floors reminded him that dignity never depended on titles. Graham offered him an executive position overseeing company security and employee wellness. Nolan respectfully declined. He explained that Eliza didn't need another executive, she needed someone who showed up consistently. She needed reliability, not authority. Those words struck Graham harder than any financial crisis ever had. For years he had measured success by growth charts, acquisitions, and profits. He suddenly realized his daughter measured love by presence. The discovery changed him completely. He stopped scheduling endless overseas meetings. He declined interviews. He delegated responsibilities he once refused to share. Every afternoon became reserved for Eliza. At first she didn't know how to respond. She expected another temporary promise. But Graham kept arriving. Every single day, they ate lunch together beneath sunny park trees near the headquarters. They painted small wooden birds beside Nolan. They volunteered together at children's hospitals during daylight community events. Slowly, father and daughter rebuilt years of emotional distance. Not everyone appreciated Nolan's growing influence. A senior executive named Cedric Holloway quietly resented the attention given to a janitor. He believed status determined value. Convinced Nolan was manipulating Graham for future rewards, Cedric arranged an embarrassing board presentation exposing Nolan's military history while implying it had been intentionally hidden. The boardroom filled with tension that afternoon. Cedric expected applause. Instead, Nolan calmly admitted everything. Yes, he had hidden his past, not because he felt ashamed. Because he wanted people to judge him by the kindness they experienced today instead of medals earned yesterday. Silence filled the room. Then Eliza, sitting beside her father, stood holding one of Nolan's carved birds. She walked toward the board members without fear. Her voice remained soft, but every word carried enormous weight. She explained that everyone had tried to fix her. Nolan never tried. He simply stayed. Sometimes love looked like solutions, sometimes love looked like patience. Several executives quietly wiped away tears. Cedric lowered his head. For the first time in years, he recognized how deeply pride had blinded him. Days later he found Nolan alone in the maintenance hallway and sincerely apologized. Nolan accepted immediately. Holding resentment had never interested him. Forgiveness, he believed, allowed two people to Move forward instead of leaving both trapped in yesterday. Months passed beneath bright skies filled with ordinary afternoons that slowly became extraordinary memories. Employees noticed dramatic changes throughout the company. Managers listened more carefully, mental health support expanded, flexible family schedules became standard. The corporate culture shifted away from relentless pressure toward genuine compassion. Profits didn't decline, they actually increased. People worked harder when they felt valued. Journalists eventually learned pieces of the remarkable story. Headlines praised the billionaire whose company transformed workplace culture after learning life-changing lessons from a janitor. Reporters searched for Nolan. Most afternoons they found him exactly where he preferred to be, sweeping hallways, greeting employees, teaching Eliza how to carve tiny wooden animals from fallen tree branches collected during sunny weekend walks. One warm afternoon, the company organized a community celebration honoring employees who quietly served others without recognition. Graham stepped onto the outdoor stage but surprised everyone by refusing to speak about business achievements. Instead, he spoke about invisible heroes, people whose names never appeared on magazine covers, people who carried burdens without applause, people who understood that changing one life could become the greatest success anyone ever achieved. He invited Nolan forward. The older man looked uncomfortable beneath the applause. Eliza gently took his hand. Together they stood smiling beneath the afternoon sunshine while hundreds of employees rose for a standing ovation that seemed to last forever. Nolan never considered himself extraordinary. He simply believed every frightened heart deserved patience, every grieving family deserved hope, every broken relationship deserved another chance. Most importantly, every child deserved one adult who refused to give up. Before we reach the end of this journey, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment telling us what touched your heart the most, or share a moment when someone's patience, kindness, or forgiveness changed your life forever. Your story may become the encouragement someone else desperately needs today. Years later, visitors entering Hawthorne Global often noticed a small wooden bird displayed inside a simple glass case near the entrance. The expensive artwork surrounding it attracted admiration, but the tiny hand-carved bird captured hearts. A small plaque beneath it read that true strength is not measured by power, wealth, or titles, but by the quiet courage to make one frightened child feel safe again. Employees passed it every afternoon as a reminder that greatness often wears ordinary clothes and that the most valuable people in any building may be the ones everyone overlooks. Graham never forgot the afternoon he almost lost hope. Eliza never forgot the man who never demanded trust but patiently earned it. Cedric never forgot that humility begins where pride ends. And Nolan continued living exactly as he always had, believing the greatest victories are rarely celebrated with medals because they happen silently inside human hearts. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Thank you for being part of our family and our community, where every story reminds us that kindness can accomplish what power never will, forgiveness can heal wounds that time alone cannot, and hope always finds a way when even one person refuses to give up.